Alrighty, today we are just doing a post-game analysis of the match between falconf7 and slonnd. Obviously not sure how to pronounce the names, but I'm going with those for now. And this is game one of the series. falconf7 is the higher seed, and slonnd is the lower seed. They're only 130 away from each other, so with prep, slonnd, I wouldn't doubt, would have been able to win this. But the difference in their level of play becomes very apparent as they go on. Before I start this series again, I'd like to say that I do not in any way mean to insult the players or insult the play. This is purely educational and to recap the series that occurred. Right. So it's a bishop c3 opening, and it's the main line with queen h6. Pretty standard stuff that goes on here, and then king to d5. So this is actually an accuracy mistake, whatever. It's not terrible, but it's not the best move because then white just develops two of their major pieces to strong ranks. Sure, your rook can match it, and maybe you trade rooks at some point if white's kind of silly. Or you can force white too, but white will obviously do it with initiative. And meanwhile, your king has really no path to advance, and your pieces are still stuck on their first squares, except for your bishop. So it's kind of an odd position for black. Anyway, rook g8, the best move was played. Rook g7 potentially in the future. Queen f5 is a very fine move. It threatens eventually queen to d8, cutting off the king to g5. Very useful thing. So everything's fine up to here. Queen f6, rook b7, all fine stuff. Rook 1 to g7. White has a very good setup with the king wanting to advance if you can deal with this bishop. Maybe some knight g3 ideas. King g5 is a very threatening move at this point. Rook takes g7, smart move to rook to the 8th rank if down, and if not, then if the queen takes, for example, then your king does get to advance and your queen holds on the 5th rank. Rook takes g7, rook b2, and this is where things go wrong for black. To clarify, falcon f7 had the white pieces here. Rook to b2 seems like a mouse slip. Obviously, rook b8 was the idea, or bishop to b2. Both very fine moves. Bishop b2 is probably a little bit better here because it actually does create some threats of a double diagonal. Rook b8 is not exactly going to be stopped because if you do just go rook g8 again, then rook b7 is available. So it was obviously a mouse slip. And the move here actually isn't take. I think king g5 was the best move here just because you get to advance. And now black's just down the tempo. Their king is pinned, the queen has to move. Oop, that is not a move that I'm trying to illustrate here at all. Anyway, after rook to b8, then you have kind of a silly move. You have rook to f7. So why is this a silly move? Because it doesn't really accomplish anything. Here, just advance, and then you can threaten something. You're really just slowing yourself down. With rook f7, it's a waiting move. It's not necessarily a blunder because you're still winning, but if the queen pins your queen here, after here, you're kind of forced there, and then the queen gets to go here because this queen pins. If you went king to h6 immediately, this necessarily wasn't a forced move. They could go bishop b2, for example, and then you can threaten that with rook to f7. There's also just simply knight to g3, and then with the queen here and the rook here, is that you have a better setup with your king to h7. Stacking your pieces like this allows the bishop b2 to pin at some point. Um, it just wasn't the best idea here. Rook f7 was a slow move. Queen to d8 was found, pinning the queen, and then bishop to e5. Another poor move from white. At this point, it's actually close to equal. Bishop b2, just threaten the bishop, forcing the bishops off the board. And then black can start developing their pieces up, get their knights involved now that this diagonal is gone. Um, Even if here and then you take, this is a strong double diagonal. The queen can obviously take and your king can't advance because then your queen would hang. Even if, let's say, you advance and takes to stop the 6th rank, just the queen down, and now white is actually losing. So Bishop e5, sure it attacks, but it's not a good move. Instead, black misses the opportunity to counter, so just defends, and white's back to winning. Queen h6, queen g8, basically only move. Bishop b2 is still an idea here, though, because after takes now, you're actually defending your bishop, and there really is no way a good way to attack your bishop, and you're pinning the queen. Issues that the immediate rook to f8, so bishop b2 maybe not the best move here still, but queen g8 stops it. And rook to e7, which is a little bit of an odd move, but it's a fine move. Just trying to find ideas for white. And you will notice the time management is actually great this series. Bishop a3, this is what it does allow. That's why rook e7 was okay, but not the best again. So white still not getting their head in the game. Rook to b7, okay. Black is actually holding on here, and I'd say it's actually a draw at this point. Bishop d6, and then bishop takes d6. Obviously allows the king to advance with initiative. So, wait, is it? Black is actually holding on here. After queen to f7, this, I believe, is completely drawn. It wasn't completely drawn here, but yeah, after the bishop takes, what are you doing with white here? Because bishop takes, sure you can queen takes, rook takes. Your king can advance. Your rook's under attack. You're completely lost here. And if you just leave your queen here and go something like bishop g2, well, now your rook's gone. Sure, you can move your rook away, maybe, rook to a7, and then takes and takes, maybe even take the queen here. But then black just comes here if you take the queen. So if you took with the queen there, black's just gonna move over. Um, I guess not yet. They might just move over this way, having the queen slide down because this bishop stops the diagonal. Very good for black here compared to white. Knight c4 instead, and white's suddenly back in the game. Bishop f4 saves the bishop, totally fine move. Knight to a5 attacks the rook, which is a bad move. I think that's actually the only move because I forgot about this move. So I guess black was still drawing here. Rook to e7, and I don't know how black draws here. King to b6, knight, bishop, whatever. Yeah, understandable. Engine actually evaluates as black is slightly better at lower depth. So rook to c8, obviously not a winning move. Queen takes g8, and rook takes g8 happens in the game, and bishop g2. I believe you can just take the bishop and then come here, and then it's fine. If you take the bishop, yes, there's king h7, but then you just slide over to the light square. It's fine. Knight to b7 was played. I guess that may work out still. Knight to g3, okay. But just take the bishop. Yeah, just take the bishop here so that there's no bishop h3 threats. Knight to d8, odd move. You don't advance at all now. That just is probably the move that loses the first game here. And knight takes e4, and yeah, knight e6 to stop here, but there's king g7, king h7, and rook c8, and then yeah, bishop e3. Good finish there from Falcon, but yeah, these players are missing several ideas, and it was kind of a confusing position that they went to, and they were thinking move by move instead of calculating out. That's why it was really tough to analyze this one going through it. Anyway, we go to game two. It's a king symmetry game, king e5, uh, queen to a6, knight takes c2. Theory up to here. Rook takes c2 is losing. Why? Because rook g6 comes with the initiative. The queen is gone. Sure, you can go rook g6 and king b5, but then after just rook d6, then you don't even have here because the queen takes. It's just losing for black at that point with that move order. Sure, there's rook f7, maybe, but then just rook to g8 with the queen eventually coming to the 7th rank. That is over for black already. Queen c6 was played instead, which is a terrible move. After you defend the rook, bishop g2 allows a double diagonal. Even though you take the bishop here, well, your queen's gone. Even if you advance here, sure, there's rooks here defending your queen, but this diagonal is still such a huge threat. After takes back, for example, this diagonal is just a huge threat. You can't really deal with it at all as black. Rook e6 was obviously played, 94, standard stuff. Here, bishop g2, everything fine up to here, knight d takes f2. Now here, why don't you take here? There is no reason not to take there. If you take here, and then the knight takes back, this is pinned, believe it or not. You might be able to develop the rook. I'm not sure, but I mean, their bishop's hanging. Maybe just take the bishop after he takes back. That could be a little bit tricky, I guess. So maybe not the best move to take with the knight there. Maybe rook takes, and because after rook takes back, and then maybe something like queen h4. I'm not sure actually what to do here. I know bishop takes e4 is the best course here. So knight takes e4. Oh, the knight d4 attacking the queen and winning knight. Should have been able to see that. I forgot the theory here. It's not a very common line, but I guess that goes that you should show. You should know even the ways to win in lines that are losing. But queen h7 here, and it's equal now. Black can just develop. There's no threats here because this diagonal is completely taken care of. Rook to b7, hitting the queen nicely. Bishop takes e4, knight takes e4. Very logical. Queen takes b7, and queen takes b7. All right, now you have rook to g7 as white. It's not clear cut who's winning. But your knight is hanging. You might want to deal with that at some point. King f5, a terrible move. I think this is where black starts winning. Just bishop b2, rook takes c2 eventually. But king e5 was played. It's a fine move. You do have rook c6, bishop b2 coming if you don't take immediately. But now, where's your rook going? Maybe to g8, but that's not going to be helpful. So rook to g8, rook to c6, king g6, bishop b2, knight f4, and yeah, it's just pretty straightforward win here for black. Yeah, nothing you can do. Nothing else to elaborate on in that game. Alright, bishop d4, bishop b4, symmetry again, queen h6 line, king d5, same line, but instead rook g7 this time. It's the lesser of the two better moves in this position, just because where is this rook also going to go? You're basically saying, hey, I want you to trade my rook off, which as white is kind of going down the tempo, but it's not losing. You're still two pieces developed, and black doesn't really have space to develop. Queen e8 this time because the rook's not on g8. It's a fine move. Bishop h3, rook to b7. Logical stuff here, but white's probably a little bit better after these two moves because now you're able to trade the rook off. And then, if the rook doesn't come, you can still come here at some point. Probably not yet, but white's got some ideas here. Queen f6, okay. Bishop a3. Very good move here. Whenever the queen comes this way, you realize that the move and intention is king g5. Which means that if you bring the bishop here, you want to threaten these two pieces, because the diagonals coming down here will pin these pieces, and with this bishop here, your king's stuck, and there's really no way to help out these pieces. Bishop f5, terrible move. Now your queen's not even protected for something like this. Sure you go, and then there's this. But an immediate move like this just wins for black. Not bishop f8, but rather bishop to e7. The reason why is, let's show, if you take here, rook take back, queen takes back, and then you have here, and rook to b7, you're just winning as black. If they don't take while their queen's under attack, where's the queen going to go? It's going to go back this way, and the king no longer can advance to the 6th rank. This bishop eventually is going to fall. So, and yeah, this move is just very odd. Why you would allow that. But it wasn't obviously played. Queen h8 was played instead, which is a drawing move. It does attack here, but after king g5 it defends. I don't remember the line, but I think it was actually played. Yes, because bishop takes f5, and then after king takes f5, you can trade off the pieces. Well, probably don't want to take back when the rook takes back. You probably just want to bring your piece up, develop. I think even after here, you still do have bishop to e5. I mean bishop to e7. Um, so yeah, it, queen takes g7, queen takes g7, king c6. Um, is it still a draw because of? Oh yes, it is. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, because you have rook b8. That's why it's a draw. If you didn't have rook b8 there, then you'd be losing. But king g6, and then now you're losing. Rook to b7 because king h7, and now the instead of being equal ranks, you're down a rank. All right, and then here the only move for white. It's kind of a nice puzzle because you can't go bishop a7. The reason why, let me show you. Rook c8, and then obviously you don't want to lift quite yet. Let's say you go with this idea to get the knight to here. Just bishop to d6. Bishop e5, on the other hand, I'll show you, is that if it was played in such a manner that instead of rook to c8, you do have knight here, and then just the bishop coming here, and you lose the bishop. It's over. Right, so rook to d8, knight to 4, and then it just goes forward. Oh, there is a knight to e3, not really doing anything, and then white wins. Alright, now we are going into game 4. Scores 3-0 in Falcon's favor. Another king symmetry game with displayed line and rook g6, queen c6. This time in the immediate bishop g2, which isn't bad. The line's actually played here. That isn't bad because then you have here. If you take back, obviously you just take back the queen, so the queen's got to be defended, and then it's just a rook trade with extra moves. White's fine here, and they still have a double diagonal, so I'd say white's a little bit better still. Rook to b7, then queen takes b7, a little bit of a hard move, but then you do have this advance. And king b5, I think, is a blunder. If you have go king d5 here, I think it's still playable for black. Because, for example, after king d5, rook g7, and then here, maybe you have a move like this, with this, and then followed by this, but I don't think that works. So yeah, just draw. It's an easy draw there. If you choose to go down the easy draw line, I'm sure there's moves that could work. But yeah, king to b5, and then you just have bishop e4, same with diagonal with initiative. The queen can't take, otherwise the king just advances. And the knight can't take because it's defended. This bishop is still hanging, but after you set the double diagonal, you can defend the bishop somehow. But missed. Rook g7 is just a draw. And then another bishop symmetry game, same line, but instead queen a5, which is an interesting line. It's a way to throw off people who know theory. Idea eventually is after rook g5, you maybe have rook b5. It really cramps up the center here, and you will get the knights involved, and it becomes a really big mess if you do play it down the theoretical lines. But rook g8 was played, rook b8, and then they trade rooks, and rook to g7, and black is better here. Why? Because black controls the tempo of the game. They dominate the 5th rank, white can advance, so they decide what happens in this game. Black essentially decided the opening in this one, which was a good choice if you wanted to get back in the series. Bishop a3, a little bit of an odd move, but it's just developing pieces. I would have gone bishop e2 personally, just hitting this diagonal, maybe trade the bishops off, get the knights involved, that type of scenario. Queen to d6, very odd move. Why would you even put your queen here? Sure, it attacks the rook, but after the rook gets you safety, like it does in this one, you do just have here. Very odd move to decide to do that. You potentially even have here, because I don't think you can defend both pieces. You just have to move the rook down, maybe rook to g5. So maybe queen c7 is just losing your advantage as black. But rook c8 was played, bishop h3, hitting the rook again, but then rook to c6, the idea. The queen's no longer safe at all. Queen to e5, sure, but then here you actually just bishop b2 after you get the queen to safety, and black looks strong. Rook to b7. Actually, this cuts off this bishop b2 idea. So here you just play bishop e5 maybe. I really don't see another move because you can't take back the queen's pinned and white. Yeah, white does not look too happy there. Rook to g6 was played though. Fine move, stop the advance. Rook to d7, and I don't know why queen takes was the move. Here I don't even know what to play. Is black king b5? Oh. Only move for black, king b5 makes sense because the 6 rate's guaranteed. Okay, but queen takes d7 loses an advantage. I think white's actually winning after this. Alright, black's actually winning here. Because the way that they ended up training the pieces, the queen was given back. Alright, rook h7, king d6. Alright, you want to start advancing your king here, because the rook's going to cut it off. The bishop cuts off this, so you're going to have king to b7. Just start advancing your king. Knight f3. Why? That just allows the knight to get out and trade. Right. Cool. Now king to b5. Just play king to b5 now. Bishop f6. Alright, king to b5. Why not king to b5 here? King to b5, maybe, but then you just have king to b6. Yeah. And then here, and here. What are you gonna do as white? You have nothing anymore. Alright, but let's say king to b5, and it was here instead. You still have here, and now white's down to move. They can't stop you. Just king to b5, easy win. I don't understand why black didn't play that. They play rook h7, and bishop d8 drops down. Simple draw. Disappointed that slonnd could have started coming back in that series. Just simple endgame stuff. When you're ahead of material like that, and they aren't able to advance, sure, be aware of the pieces coming up. Make moves to stop the pieces from coming up, but in the end, just advance your king if you can. King g3 line again, and the same blunder line, rook g6, queen c6, rook e6, this time going back to the first line, bishop g2, and then the same drawing line now. But then rook takes e2 is actually a better move here, just a free knight. This knight is just completely solidified now. Alright. And now you actually have a discovered attack at some point. If you ever do want to play it. It might come into play here. Alright, rook to g7. White actually doesn't have a terrible setup, but you do have bishop b2 eventually. Rook b8, king g6. G5 is a good move, yes. But queen g8, you can probably just trade because the king can advance. Just trade, for example, here. The rook can't come back down. If they take your rook, your queen advances, and yes, there's this, but then there's bishop b2. Not yet. You probably want to advance first, and then here, and then bishop b2. And then if they take, you actually just take their rook. If they don't take back and decide to just double up here, you just have here. So it's just completely won for black at that point. But still king b6 obviously works. Rook e7, yeah, bishop e2, nice knight bishop coordination there to cover this. King to h6, and yeah, they hung their queen. It's over. Right, score is now 5-1. Falcon f7 just needs to draw here, and he wins the series just because of bishop symmetry, because the best result is here. And queen to d6 is an odd line. Rook b6, yeah, just hit the queen. Come here. Here, where's the queen going? It has no good squares. Because, for example, queen d5, just bishop b2. If here, just bishop b3. So you don't want to put on a box square. Here, there's just advance, and then rook d6. Yeah, black just has a better position here after. But rook b7 was played. Probably still playable for right. Rook to g7, bishop a3. Okay, it doesn't threaten anything. King to e5, white has a little bit more dominant position, and it's basically just transposed into a king e5 line, where somehow the queen is already here. So, still playable for black, but white is better. Knight b3 is a complete blunder and just throws the game. If the rooks are ever like this, do not play knight to b3 to attack this bishop. What you want to do instead, just king to b5 maybe. If you want to get this bishop off the board, then play rook b4, attacking and then hitting the queen eventually. Because this queen is gone here. The rook's not here yet, so you have some time to develop your pieces. Knight to b3 is if the rook's here already. And the reason why is because you can take after rook to g7 and then you're fine. Alright. Bishop e3 is probably still a valid move, but I mean, if you just, I'll just show this line. Just take immediately. Queen's coming here, and now you have here and just rook g7. Maybe that hangs the queen, so maybe not yet. Should play that immediately. That does give a free bishop. Sure, there's an advance, but then back in rook g7, your rook's cut off. That type of thing. Sure, you can take back. But then sure, there's bishop e2 after trades. Knight's under attack. Maybe you take, but then you advance here, and then maybe you even go here. They threaten here. I guess that's a repetition try. Probably didn't play the right line. But I guess at worst, you're drawing with white. White is just absolutely better there. After bishop h3, knight a5 takes the free bishop. King b5 and the queen back. Bishop c6 is kind of a cramping move. You got 5 pieces and 9 squares. Black's got nothing. Rook e7, and yeah, just a regular bit at this point. You can even play rook g8 first. It's over. Alright, that sums up the series Falcon f7 won. There wasn't a lot to elaborate on. Just a lot of easy misses. There weren't a lot of blunders, like back and forth, except for that first game there. So that's why I spent a long time on the first game, a little bit in the second game. I spent a little bit of time on the draws because there were opportunities to win in there, but other than that, it was pretty straightforward. Even though Falcon plays losing openings or less than perfect openings, Falcon just outplayed slonnd in the opening and managed to capitalize on the advantage in 5 of his 7 games there. That sums up the series, and that's all I have to say today. So I'll check out the challenge bracket really quickly, and I'll switch the view here to here, and we'll go ahead and check really quickly what's the setup. Falcon f7 will play Natso. Natso is very strong. I doubt Falcon's going to pose any threats, but congrats on the Falcon advancing, and best of luck into the next round.